Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Submitting an Affiliation Change Request webinar. It's 11:05. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll start with introductions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Quasi Allen. I'm a housing specialist here at Columbia Residential. I typically handle communications and I'm on the customer service team. So if you've reached out to Columbia via live chat and or email or phone, 9 times out of 10, you've spoken to me. I look forward to addressing all your concerns and questions, and thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Quasi. And hi, everybody. My name is Jack. I use he, him, his. I'm also a housing specialist here at Columbia Residential. I'm really excited to dive into the affiliation review process with you all today. It's definitely one of the more, it can be intimidating processes that we have, but once you gain an understanding of it, it's super simple and can really help you maximize your time here at Columbia Residential. So we're going to dive right on into it. So we have a lot to talk about. First, we're going to speak on what an affiliation end date actually is and why yours may need to be addressed. I'm also going to show you how you can request additional time to remain in housing and go over what that whole process looks like. Additionally, I would like to share with you the best person to contact is if you'd like to discuss your request process. Additionally, we're going to go over postdoc housing for those of you who are interested in staying beyond your degree, the off-campus housing marketplace for those of you who are looking to take the next step, and finally, a Q&A portion to address all of your concerns. With that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, what is an affiliation end date? So as you're aware, to be a tenant here at Columbia Residential, you need to be enrolled and engaged with the university in some capacity. Based on your program, you are given a certain time frame for how long your housing eligibility will last. Your affiliation end date essentially means when that eligibility ends and how long you have to stay in housing. It typically lines up with the recommended time that a program takes. So, for example, if you have a 4-year degree and you start on fall of 2021, your affiliation end date would likely be set for May of 2025. However, that's not always necessarily the case, which is why it's important to check what your affiliation end date is. So if your affiliation end date is approaching, but you still need more time to continue your academics for any reason, that would be the perfect time to consider an affiliation review. Another common reason for an affiliation review is for students who are on the wait list. So if you received your housing or your unit through the waitlist process, you're automatically given a affiliation end date of May 31st for that academic year. So that means even if you just moved in January, if you came in off the waitlist, May 31st of 2024 will be your affiliation end date. If you are now in residential housing, you like it, you want to stay, an affiliation review is essentially your process for requesting that additional time. And then lastly, you may need to consider an affiliation review if your program is only grants you a limited amount of time in housing. Certain academic programs only allow access to residential housing for a certain window of time in your program. And if this is the case for you and you'd like to remain for longer than the amount of time initially given, an affiliation review can request you to maintain housing eligibility. So if your affiliation end date is coming up, you essentially have two options. If you'd like to get more time to remain in housing and complete your degree, you can submit an affiliation review. We're going to go over that whole process of how to submit this and who you need to talk to and everything you need to know about that in just a minute. But if you look at your affiliation end date and you say, wow, I'll be graduating right around that time, I don't need to stay in housing, that is the time you can be prepared to do a move out. So then you skip this whole affiliation review process. You can log on to the housing portal and select the right date right then and there to process your move out. You can move out at any point through the month of your affiliation ending, as long as it is before you lose your eligibility. So you might be asking, what is my affiliation end date? You don't know. How do I check? If you're unsure, all you need to do is log onto the housing portal, navigate to the tenant profile tab and click the affiliation button. You're going to see a screen that looks just like this. Essentially, all the information here is the information that there is about your affiliation. It's all the information that we at Residential track about essentially your current standing within your academic program and how long you have to remain in housing. That information at the bottom where it says anticipated end date and it has a little box, that is going to be your affiliation end date. So In this example, you'll see it's 12/31/22. So that means as soon as December 31st, 2022 came around, that would be the last day for this student to remain in housing. So let's say you go log on, you check it, you recognize that you're going to need some additional time. What is the best next step? That's going to be submitting an affiliation review, which you can do from the same webpage. Uh, so all you need to do is go to the reason for a change request. In there, you can just pick any option in that box that matches essentially whatever your current circumstances are, and that will kind of open up the affiliation review process. You can change any of the other information. If you change programs, you changed your degree type, your major, whatever it may be. You can also process all that information as well. Um, and at the bottom, that's where you're going to put in your new anticipated end date, which is essentially how long you anticipate to complete your program and how long you'll need to remain in housing. There's a couple things to consider when submitting one of these. Uh, the first of which, we only will look at dates 5/31, 8/31, or 12/31. So May 31st, August 31st, or December 31st. These are the dates that kind of line up with the end of semester, whether it be spring, summer, or fall. Uh, so it should line up closely with the graduation. Um, so again, we're only looking at those dates, so be sure to submit one of those. Additionally, if you're interested in receiving a short-term or housing or a bar extension, um, you will need to be a May graduate. Unfortunately, that's not an accommodation that we can grant to those who graduate at the end of summer or at the end of fall, um, as it is pretty limited ability, so you'll need to be a May graduate. Lastly, be sure to update your affiliation date and date with a later date. If you're graduating early, you do not need to go through this process. You can simply go through a move out and we can discuss with your school, and we'll talk later about what that looks like. So that's great. You submitted your affiliation review request. You're all set. Now it's going to essentially go off and be assessed, and then you'll receive an answer whether it's approved or denied. You may be asking where this request is going. So it's actually not reviewed by us here at Residential. It is reviewed by your school and your program and kind of the academic side of your Columbia experience. So each school has a housing liaison, which is a role in their office that interacts with Columbia Residential, and they kind of manage who they have in housing and their ability to kind of provide housing for as many students as they possibly can. Each school has their own individual process and procedures for submitting and reviewing affiliation requests. Um, so if you'd like to discuss your end date for any reason, they are the best person to contact. If you'd like to find who your housing liaison is, it's real simple. All you have to do is go to the residential website, go to the search bar, and search for housing liaison. Uh, that will point you in the right direction of who is best to contact. And then now you might be asking what the timeline for an affiliation review happens. So we always make sure it happens towards kind of the beginning of a semester, so that way you can have this information and use it to make plans for the future and what you want to do when the semester's over, right? So they're reviewed on a rolling basis between October 1st and October 31st in the fall semester, and February 15th and March 15th in the spring semester. Uh, you can enter an affiliation review and submit it whenever you'd like. It'll sit there and be ready to be reviewed. However, the reviewing process starts either October 1st or February 15th based off the semester that you're in. So if you need to update your end date, be sure to send your application in before this deadline. As early as possible is always best. So this is great. You have submitted your affiliation review request. You did it on time, and you've contacted your housing liaison to kind of talk about the best process. Next step is essentially going to be receiving a decision, and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Quasi to talk about what that looks like.
Thank you so much for that, Jack. I appreciate it. So, like Jack mentioned, at this point, you've submitted your request. Your school will be reviewing your request. Again, Columbia Residential does not approve these extension requests. It's done by your housing liaison. If you are approved, you'll get a confirmation email. If it's approved for a longer, after your current agreement ends, you will receive a new agreement that you must sign in order to continue with us in housing. So you've graduated, you want to continue studies here at Columbia. Now, at this point, you want to apply for postdoc housing. Postdoc housing is somewhat different than regular graduate student housing. For that information, you would definitely need to reach out to facultyhousing at columbia.edu and or go to our website where you can see the eligibility for postdoc housing. Again, postdoc housing is different in the sense of where you're living and the type of accommodation. So be sure to reach out to faculty housing and or check our website for more information on eligibility requirements and what's the process and in its entirety. Moving out. So now at this point, you've already graduated, it's time to move out. I'll tell you what the next steps are. So, moving out. You must submit a vacancy via your housing portal with a date, which and generally says that's the day you're going to move out. You want to be mindful of that date. You want to make sure that you can move out completely and it's in line with your housing agreement as well. Move out must be done through Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., excluding holidays. If you decide to use a moving company, please be sure to get a certificate of insurance. Again, it is very important to get a certificate of insurance if you decide to use a moving company to help you with that new transition after graduation. If you're moving outside of business hours, please be mindful that there may be a $250 flat rate that's applicable. Cleaning your unit. Love this part. Cleaning your unit is essential in order to complete the move out process. Floors, floors must be broom swept clean, refrigerators emptied, and everything, including pictures, furniture, mats, rugs, any type of utensils that you brought in, must be taken with you upon vacating the unit. If you refuse to move out everything, you may be charged a move out fee for those items. So I highly recommend picking up everything that you came in with. Make sure you leave with. Finding off-campus housing. Say, for example, you want to stay in the city and, after graduation, you want to see what summer is in New York and you want to be free because you don't have classes. You might want to, or you need a new place to stay. You might want to look at the benefits of off-campus housing. The OCHA website could definitely assist with that. It's listings. You can find temporary housing accommodations and or sublets if you just want to sublet for a month or so, just so that transition is easier for you. So you definitely want to look at the off-campus housing website. Very inquisitive, and I appreciate you taking the time to ask questions. Should you have more questions or you want to connect with us, you can do so by visiting our website. We have a live chat feature where someone in the office could definitely answer all your questions or concerns. You can reach out to us via email, residential@columbia.edu. You can stop by our office. We're located at 401 West 119th Street. Or if you're in the mood, you can shoot us a call. Yes, we still have telephones here. Um, and or you can get that number from our website, or I can provide it right now, 212-854-9300. And we'll put this barcode up so you can scan it should you want to contact us for your convenience. We sincerely and appreciatively thank you so much for joining us today, alongside myself and my colleague Jack. Thank you for taking time with us today and enjoy the rest of your week. And it's sunny, guys. Enjoy the day. Have a great day.